Okay, let's get right into it. What if I told you the single biggest economic decision of our time wasn't made in some stuffy gray boardroom? No. What if it was made in a gilded ballroom in Florida? We're going to unpack the whispers, the rumors of a secret plan. A plan with a goal so wild, so audacious, it sounds like it was ripped straight from a spy novel to intentionally crash the US dollar.
I want you to picture this. The year is 2026. It's January. A motorcade, black SUVs, sweeps into Mar-a-Lago, deep in the night. Inside, a secret summit is happening. You've got the president, the head of the Fed, the big shot banking CEOs, all in one room. And the whispers leaking out of Washington? They're saying that the fate of your savings, your mortgage, your dream vacation, it was all just decided over shrimp cocktail.
The name floating around? The Mar-a-Lago Accord. And its rumored objective is, well, it's staggering. We're talking about orchestrating a controlled crash in the value of the world's most powerful currency. Yeah, you heard that right. The plan isn't to save the dollar, it's to weaken it on purpose.
I know what you're thinking. That sounds completely nuts, right? Why on earth would a president want to weaken his own country's currency? Well, believe it or not, there is a kind of ruthless logic to it. See, a weaker dollar makes everything made in the USA way cheaper for the rest of the world. It's a move that could, in theory, bring factories roaring back to life, maybe even slash the trade deficit. But, and this is a huge but, for you and me, the cost is very, very real. It means the price of anything imported, from your phone to your coffee, goes up, and your money is just worth less every single time you travel.
But here's the kicker. As wild as this plan sounds, it is not a new idea. Not at all. In fact, this exact same playbook, it's been run before. To really get what the Mar-a-Lago Accord is all about, we have to rewind the clock to what some people are already calling Plaza Accord 2.0.
So let's go back. It's 1985. The US dollar is an absolute beast, so strong that American factories were just getting crushed by foreign competition. So what did the Reagan administration do? They gathered all the world's economic heavyweights at the Plaza Hotel in New York, and they brokered a deal to work together to push the dollar's value down. And you know what? It worked. For the US stock market, it was a massive win. But there's always a flip side. Many people argue that this exact move helped trigger a chain reaction that absolutely devastated Japan's economy for years to come.
And listen, this wasn't some tiny little tweak. We're talking about the dollar plunging by a staggering 40%. 40 in just 2 years. I mean, that is a seismic shift. It just goes to show you how powerful a move like this can be when governments decide to work together or force each other's hand.
Okay, so how would a modern version of this even work? Well, one economic advisor, Stephen Myron, has reportedly laid out a three-pronged attack. And honestly, it feels less like a friendly handshake and more like all-out economic warfare. Step 1. Slap heavy tariffs on any country that refuses to play ball. Step 2, and this is the really scandalous secret weapon here, charge a user fee to other countries just for the privilege of holding US debt. This would basically force them to sell their dollars. And step 3, pressure our allies to swap their liquid cash for these crazy ultra-long-term 100-year bonds.
All right, enough of the high-level geopolitical stuff. Let's bring this right down to earth. What does this mean for your wallet? Let's just play this out. Imagine the accord actually happens, and bam, overnight the dollar drops by 20%. What happens next? Well, in this new world, there are two completely different stories, and it all depends on who you are. On one side, we've got the tourist, the person holding cash. And on the other, we have the investor, the person holding assets. And believe me, their experiences are going to be polar opposites.
Let's start with the tourist's nightmare, okay? You've been saving up, you've got $5,000 for that dream trip to Italy. Awesome. Yesterday, that $5,000 got you a nice 4,500 euros. But today, after the accord, your $5,000 is suddenly only worth 3,600 euros. Almost 1,000 euros just, poof, vanished from your travel fund. That croissant you were dreaming of in Paris, it just got way, way more expensive.
But on the flip side, the investor is having a great day. Think about it. Giant US companies like Apple, Microsoft, you name it, they make billions of dollars overseas in euros and yen. So when they bring that money back home and convert it into weaker US dollars, their earnings reports suddenly look spectacular. The numbers just inflate, so your stocks go up because the money they're priced in is worth less. It's kind of like an illusion, sure, but it's a very, very profitable one.
But look, this is way bigger than just your vacation budget or even your stock portfolio. This entire plan is a high-stakes gamble, a massive bet that could risk the dollar's crown.
its spot at the very center of the entire global economy.
And that brings us to the ultimate danger, what some analysts are calling the nuclear option. Seriously, this is the point of no return. It's the scenario where this strategic move to weaken the dollar just spirals completely out of control and triggers a full-blown global economic crisis.
To really grasp how dangerous this is, you gotta understand what makes the US dollar so special in the first place. It's the world's global reserve currency. That means it's the default money for global trade. It's how oil is bought and sold. It's what every other country's central bank holds in its vaults to keep their own economies stable. This status gives the US an incredible amount of power, and it lets us borrow money ridiculously cheaply.
Now, if the US starts to weaponize the dollar too aggressively with things like those user fees we talked about, it could backfire catastrophically. Countries like China, Saudi Arabia, they're already looking for an exit ramp. This could be the push they need to finally dump the dollar. And if the world loses trust, US interest rates would have to skyrocket just to get people to lend us money. We are talking mortgages hitting 10, maybe even 12%. The entire foundation of the US economy would start to crumble.
So what this all boils down to is an incredibly dangerous high-wire act. The whole bet is that they can weaken the dollar just enough to get all the benefits, but not so much that they completely destroy the world's faith in it. That is a terrifyingly fine line to walk.
Okay, so if this all happens, if we find ourselves in what some are calling a cash is trash era, what's the playbook for you, the individual? How do you protect yourself when the money in your bank account is literally being designed to lose its value?
Well, based on this whole scenario, the game plan seems to have three key parts. First, don't hold a ton of extra cash. Cash is the #1 victim in a currency war. It gets crushed. Second, stay invested in assets. Stuff like stocks, real estate, they tend to hold their value or even go up as the currency they're priced in gets meeker. And number 3, diversify globally. Look into things like international stock funds, which can actually do really well when the dollar takes a dive.
Look, at the end of the day, the Mar-a-Lago Accord might just be a rumor. Maybe it never happens. But the idea itself shines a huge spotlight on a fundamental truth of our modern economy. In a currency war, the only guaranteed loser is the guy holding cash under his mattress. So the only question left is which side of that equation do you want to be on?